Hello, everybody. Welcome to the very first episode of the New Earth Academy. And so I want to welcome all the live participants that are here with me as well. But this is for everybody who is tuning in to this very first classroom. So the New Earth Academy is something that I've been working with now for the past several months. I've wanted to make something that was really unique to all the people who have been tuning into my YouTube channel, who have been grabbing my sessions through the website, who's available through me on Facebook, just through a lot of my social media and people that I work with. And it's a way of really being able to spoil those particular people as well too. So New Earth Academy really is spoiling my clients, spoiling my friends, spoiling people who have followed me for quite some time. And why I say that is because there is a special three-set plan with the New Earth Academy. So we're going to go over that a little bit briefly. And then we're also going to be talking about these classrooms that are going to be happening as well. So the three plan tier, the first one is that of the library patron. And so the library patron is able to watch and access all of the past webinars that I have ever done. So I'm still busy putting some other webinars on the New Earth Academy Patreon page, but all of the past webinars and past presentations that I have done will be on New Earth Academy. There was a previous website that was the New Earth Teachings Library that is going to be shutting down on July 1st, and so everything is going to be under the New Earth Academy umbrella. But the library patrons will be able to access all of that video information. There's also going to be some exclusive interviews, and there's even going to be maybe about once or twice a month some special videos that I'm going to be creating for the New Earth Academy as well too. And that is $14.99 per month. And so you're going to be able to access past webinars, you're going to be able to access exclusive interviews, you're going to be able to access the new featured videos that I'm going to be creating. You're also going to be able to access for free upcoming webinars that are featured on New Earth Teachings. So for example, for those of you who have already signed up, tomorrow there is Adronis, the Primordial Human. And if you guys have already signed up to Patreon, you'll be able to access that event for absolutely free, right? So there's going to be a lot more webinars coming here starting next month and the month after, and more with a lot of special guests as well too. So if you're on New Earth Academy as a Patreon, then you're good. You're able to access that webinar completely for free. So that's what the library patrons go through. Second one is the student Patreon plan. And so with the student patrons, what they are going to get is they'll get everything that the library patrons get, but they're also going to get a free 30-minute private session with me each and every single month. And they'll also have one email question as well too. The email question readings that I have on New Earth Teachings, you'll have a free one question reading that is available to you every week. So you'll be able to have 30 minutes of private session plus one question per week as well too for that particular bonus as well. And again, you'll receive all of the library patron bonuses as well too, and benefits. So that is the student Patreon plan, and that one is $55 per month. Then finally, there is the apprenticeship Patreon plan. And with the apprenticeship, you are actually getting 90 minutes of session time with me per month, and you're also getting 3 email questions per week that you can also send to me as well too, and you'll get those free readings for 3 email questions, and of course 90 minutes worth of private session time. And with the apprentices, you also have high priority email support. So if you're going through certain things and you need a lot of help, then your email will be top priority, and so I'll be putting you ahead above everybody. And so you'll be getting a lot of my attention, and this is all part of being the apprentice for the month, is being able to work together with me one-on-one with whatever you're going through. If you want to develop your channeling ability, if you want to develop psychic ability, you want to develop healing ability, you want to help to really transform your life through a lot of the work that I've been doing the past 10 years, and you really want my help to assist you in that way, I'm very, very happy to do so. And so there are only 10 apprenticeship slots in the New Earth Academy. So it's good to grab them while they're there. So these are the 3 plans that are available through the New Earth Academy. So there are some new changes that are happening with the New Earth Academy that are not yet updated on the site, but they will be this evening. And what this is going to entail is that there's going to be a monthly classroom instead of a weekly classroom. So because I just don't have enough people right now to start off a weekly campaign to do a lot of these weekly classrooms, but as the Patreon amount starts to go up, if we get at least, I'd say about 25 patrons from library, student, and apprenticeship, then I could probably move up to bi-weekly. If we get up to 50 or more, then we could probably make that into a weekly classroom. Right now, it's just going to be a monthly classroom, but that is available for everybody. That's available for library patrons, student patrons, and apprenticeship patrons. So you will be able to access this monthly classroom. And there will be a lot of open Q&A within each classroom as well, too. So you'll also be able to talk to Adronis one-to-one as well, too. Leave your questions. You're also able to ask personal questions in the classroom also. So again, you have this full access. And of course, we'll be talking about different topics. So if it's the idea about ascension, if it's the idea about the event, if it's information about densities, dimensions, universal consciousness, universal mechanics, time travel, extraterrestrial civilizations, ET awareness, ET disclosure, higher self connections, spirit guide connections, I can go on and on and on and on. We have all of these topics, basically everything that you've seen me talk about through the videos on YouTube, through Facebook, and more. All of that will be available through a lot of general discussions. But a lot of it will also focus upon self-mastery and self-realization as well, too. And that we are going through some really incredible changing times. And that through these transformations that are taking place, nothing can be kept secret anymore, right? We're basically just in the dark night of the soul of humanity. And that's what part of this discourse is today with the free classroom, is looking into the dark side, let me try that again. Dark side of the soul of humanity in that sense, or dark night of the soul for humanity, is that we are going through a lot of these particular changes right now. And a lot of my sessions as of late have been about people who feel like they're just about ready to lose their minds. They're going stir crazy. They don't know what's happening. They don't know what they can do to try and settle a lot of these intense energies that are coming through. And so I'm sure with quite a few people that are on this webcast tonight, there are things like that as well happening. Has that been happening to me? It certainly used to. Right now, a lot of things have been calming down for me. I haven't really been going through that particular type of intensity. The reason being is because I've just focused a lot on going into myself, and if there are problems, which there have been, relating to emotional states, traumatic states, etc., I sit down with them, I talk with them, I write them down, and I'm able to look at that and saying, what is it about myself that's bringing in this shadow aspect of me that is showing me this dark night of the soul relating to what I'm going through? And so if you are going through this dark night of the soul, you're not alone. Everybody on the planet right now is going through the dark night of the soul. This is basically, again, the cusp that is about to transition past the dark ages of humanity. It's kind of like we're just right at the cusp at dusk, and we're just now starting to see a little bit of that light starting to move up through the horizon. The sun is just about to rise, and that's where we're going, right? So we've been going through this very, very long night of the dark night of the soul for quite some time, for quite a few years. And now it's really just reached an intense period. Adronis has talked about the span of change between 2018 and 2024. Of course, when he first announced it, it was more so around 2016 to 2024. And that this span of change could also be referred to as the collective dark night of the soul. So we are all going through challenges. We are all going through incredible shifts in consciousness. We are realizing that maybe old jobs aren't suiting us anymore, and we're now starting to phase past those, move past those into a new arena. We're realizing that members of our family or very close friends that have been associated with us for a very long time are now starting to question our relationships with those people, from family, from friends, from acquaintances, from bosses, from co-workers, and more. And the very, very important thing is that this is the time for many of us to start walking the path of our own truth. And to understand truth is to understand your God nature. It's to understand the nature of yourself. A lot of us get hung up on purpose. we start to look into everything relating to purpose and saying, well, I can't deviate that because this is my purpose to do this, or I can't do this because this is supposed to be my purpose, and how could I possibly leave that, right? We get too hung up on purpose and we get too hung up on belief, and that's basically what purpose is. Purpose is just the aspect of beliefs that we have created from ourselves, to think that it needs to come in a very, very finite boundary. It needs to come inside a cube, and we need to play inside that cube and just not leave that cube for as long as we possibly can. And that's not the idea, is that when you come here, yes, you have assignments, yes, you have tasks, yes, you may have missions, but those do not have to relate to the idea of a finite boundary, saying that this is my purpose cube, and inside my purpose cube, I have to do it exactly like this, I need to get it done exactly in this way, and it has to be done in this exact amount of time, right? And this is, again, limiting us. If we truly want to understand that we as human beings truly are cosmic beings, because that's our nature, we're not indigenous to this planet. In fact, we're the only species on this planet that is not indigenous to it. We are cosmic travelers. We are star beings. We are cosmic beings. And in order for us to really go back into those cosmic origins, we basically have to look at two possible timelines that we have to face here in order for us to move through one of those particular timelines to go back into that cosmic origin. And so the first timeline that really is not representative of ourselves is that we become Earth slaves. And what that means is that we're completely at the mercy relating to that of Earth systems, relating to that of modern society, relating to that of having to create all the bells and whistles to exist within some type of corporate entity, to exist in some type of morality, existing in a very, very limiting and conditional purpose-based existence. And that is very limiting. Again, that's like being inside a box and saying, oh, this is a pretty fun box. And over time, that box is going to get very, very tiring. It's going to get very boring. It's going to get very, very controlling, not feeling that you can break through the boundaries of that box. And so if we are continuing to play in a reality like that, where we have to basically look at how everybody else is viewing us and decide, well, this is what we have to do with our life, this is how our life is going to go, then we are basically being a slave to that system. We are being a slave to the idea of us feeling that we have to go with the flow, we have to go with the trends, we have to listen to what modern civilization says, we have to listen to our parents, we have to listen to our friends, we have to act normal because we don't want to rock the boat, right? That is the conditional timeline. That is the timeline where you feel that your freedom is little to none. And of course, we have the second timeline. The second timeline is becoming a cosmic god, right? This is the path where you are now letting yourself completely letting go of everything, completely surrendering everything. So that will mean that if there's someone who is not supporting you, who is not loving what you're doing, who has nothing but animosity or judgment towards you, it's time to let them go. That if there's friends that are doing that, it's time to let them go. There's family doing that, it's time to let them go. If there's a house that you're living in that you know you're not happy with, let it go, right? It's being able to completely unshackle yourself, to completely peel off all these layers of excess skin that you do not need anymore and become completely bare naked as it relates to your truth. Now, it will even move up to a step beyond that for some of us as well too, perhaps for many of us, is that those who are able to completely leave behind possessions, leave behind materialism, leave behind everything that they feel that they have needed as a blanket of the ego, for those who are able to completely strip that away, and in exchange, they are going into the depths of their own inner truth and being able to connect back to source consciousness, to the one true God, to Mother, Father, God, to the aspect that is their purest nature. You will experience beauty, you will experience bliss, you will experience magnificence more than you ever thought possible. Everything has to be stripped away that you know does not serve you. And when you do this, you start doing a lot of inner work. As you start doing a lot of inner work, your whole body starts to change. Your mind starts to change. Your soul starts to change. Your heart starts to change. Everything starts to change. It changes to that point until Everything that represents your truth is pure to yourself. You change until you are unchangeable. Then when you are completely unchangeable, you no longer have any relationship to anybody else. And I believe this is one of the biggest fears that many people have. Well, Brad, if I go so deeply into the spiritual path, I'm not going to know who I am anymore. Well, in a way, that's true, because to know who you are would basically just represent some type of ego principle. If you feel that you are able to easily identify yourself and easily give yourself definition, then you're basically just playing with a physical mind. You're playing with this body. You're playing with this ego. And feeling that I'm a carpenter, I'm a teacher, I'm a dancer, I'm a musician, and I make this much money, and I have this in my bank account, and I have this big house, etc. And that is how you are able to easily identify yourself. A person who is on a truth path is not able to identify themselves. They can't. There is nothing that they really relate to, as it is with other people who are still very much dependent upon this type of system, upon the governance upon this planet. So really, it's being able to become invisible. It's being able to become unknowable. It's being able to have an enigma as a personality. And that as an enigma, we can't identify ourselves. We have no trait. We have no birth aspect of something, of a name on top of a piece of paper. And that's what you're going to experience through this. There are times as well when I feel that I'm doing this work and I just don't have any identity anymore. It's like I said in the past, that the aspect of a Brad Johnson doesn't exist. That's just a convenience of a name. But there really is not that person, that character anymore. That character is now just moving into a state of truth. People will call me that name, and of course I will respond to it, but it's no longer being able to identify the aspect of that conditioning upon myself, right? And that's where a lot of people are going to lead themselves. They will basically become so completely aligned to their truth that they will have nothing, and then they will have everything, right? It's going back into a lot of the ancient teachings of Jesus and ancient teachings of Buddha. Jesus basically stated as well too, is that any man, any woman who is able to completely give up their possessions, give up their father, give up their mother, give up their partner, give up their children, give up their land, will receive thousands of more rewards by deciding to follow the kingdom of heaven, rather than feeling that you have to exist on this earth, right? It's being able to strip yourself bare naked into truth. That is the greatest liberation that you will ever experience. And that is how we completely get off the wheel of karma. That's how we get off the wheel of time and space and matter, is that we are moving past the aspect of causality. You are not stimulating the mind in any particular way that you can. The mind is that stimulator. It wants to identify something. It wants to put a label on something. It wants to think of something. It wants to conceive of an idea. It wants to bring ideas into life. It wants to take all these patterns and make them dance. And it wants to identify. And it wants to give personality to all of these things. And what you're doing is you're stripping away the mind. You're making yourself completely empty, right? So if I'm holding up this glass here and there was no water in it, we would basically try to make ourselves as empty as this glass would be with no water in it, right? That's what we're doing, is we're stripping that away. And eventually we're just going to strip away the cup as well too, until there is nothing that is even identifiable to ourselves. Everything just becomes stillness. Everything just becomes complete and total null, right? And when you're in that state of null, you're back with the Creator. You're back with the true Father. You're back with God. You're back with Source. You're back with the infinite, whatever you want to call it, but you're back in that state of stillness because you have stripped everything off yourself. All that remains is the bliss of omnipresence, is the bliss that we can't even imagine. We can't even fathom it. Even those that may have experienced something in their greatest forms of meditation still are not able to understand or even articulate what it is to truly become stillness, what it is to truly become that aspect of bliss. Because whenever we're allowing mind to come into our awareness and we're starting to see all these visions, within ourselves. Sure, it may be very, very euphoric, it may be very, very blissful, but it still represents that of a identity. It still represents that of fluid. It still represents that of motion. It still represents some type of identification of personality within those visions. Move past those visions. Let those visions completely go and make yourself as still as possible. See yourself like an ocean that has been completely stilled. There's not even a ripple that is contained inside the ocean. Imagine yourself in the now, completely in that state of stillness. What do you become? You become absolute bliss. You become absolute freedom. You become absolute stillness. That's the idea of where truth takes us. Some may say, well, Brad, I just really like to be able to have motion. I like to be able to play with these things. Then go ahead. Go ahead and play with these things. Play with truth, right? But the whole idea is that if we are continuing to bang our head against the wall and knowing that we are voluntarily suffering, suffering again is part of a choice. It's something that we have made. Now, humans, of course, do have a disadvantage because we come into this world. We come as children into this world, and we have no memory about what has happened in the past to us. But see, the universe doesn't work that way. The universe remembers everything you've done. And so even if you're a little baby, but maybe in the past you were like a monstrous serial killer, right? Now all of a sudden, as a child, you're starting to get all of these reflections coming back that may represent that aspect of being a murderer, of having people that are very, very harsh, of having parents that are mistreating you, etc. Granted, we certainly have a lot of that particular disadvantage, and we need to simply see that out. It's going to be very, very challenging, of course, as a child to try and deal with that. Is having parents that are, again, maybe very abusive to you, friends that may be very, very abusive to you, etc. We really can't do anything until we are able to develop discernment. But as we start to develop discernment, then we can actually prevent this from happening again throughout the funnels of other lifetimes to which this could branch to, right? Certainly I've had some pretty harsh experiences in my youth as well too. I've talked to a lot of people who have had all kinds of horrifying situations happening to them in their youth. But what I tell them is right now, you're discerning because you're able to come to somebody and talk to them about it. Granted, we can't take a time machine, we can't go back in the past, and we cannot change all those things that happened. But right now, because you are realizing that you have discernment based upon everything that has happened to you, you now have the ability to make a change. Discernment is one of the primers to allowing change to happen. So even though you may have had a very, very challenging childhood, maybe a very frightening childhood in that way, right now you're looking at this as an adult and you're realizing, I went through all of this. What can I do to change it? Well, your discernment is one of the primers to making that happen. And what I say to people as well too is that even though there may have been a lot of darkness, a lot of dark night of the soul with yourself in those earlier years, is there anything that exists within you right now that has even just a little spark, a little sliver of light that's available? And some people just really need to think about that for a bit, and sometimes I have to take them through their dreams, I have to take them through their wishes, I have to take them through what they feel is very, very exciting to them. And we do find something. I have yet to find a person who has had absolutely no joy within their life whatsoever. And I would question about how that person is still alive, right? Mainly because a lot of people do have some joy in it, but they've spent so much time focusing on everything that doesn't serve them that they just basically squeeze all of that energy that does not represent joy out of their minds. And so they have these challenges. They feel that they cannot identify joy. But once you just really stop and listen to what a person is saying as well too, you'll notice that there's something that they say, I wish I could have done this, or I wish this would have happened to me, and I didn't have to go through this experience. What they're wishing for is their salvation. What they're wishing for is that aspect of joy. So that is what we take. We take that little spark of joy and we make it even more larger. We turn it into an inferno of excitement. We turn it into an inferno of compassion, of love and forgiveness. And when we're able to do that, we just work to completely re-educate ourselves, which means that the aspect of torture and torment need to die. We need to make peace with that. And in order for us to make peace with that, we have to bring as much of a wellspring of love into ourselves as possible. We're taking a little spark or a little drop of joy, and we're taking that drop and we're making it into a vast ocean. The whole idea is that you really want to make sure that your fuel that you have relating to how you can completely transform your life comes from that love. You have to create an ocean, right? That means you're taking buckets and buckets of water each and every day and dumping it into this gigantic pool, or maybe it's a gigantic crater, right? And being able to fill yourself up with as much love as possible, you're able to completely take on any of these energies that have been very paralyzing, that have been very traumatizing, polarizing, that you are now able to work with. And because you're filling yourself with so much love, you're able to listen to them now. The only time we're not able to listen to our pain is because we are still in lack. As long as we are in lack, we will continue to ignore that pain. We'll just want it to go away. We'll just want somebody to destroy it, or just bury your head under the sand so you don't have to look at it. And that is only going to intensify it. The next time it comes around, it's going to cycle and even get worse and even get worse and even get worse. Oh, Brad, for God's sakes, why does that happen to us? Why? Why is it that when I'm trying to improve myself, that all of these really intense things just explode right in my face? And I'm doing everything I can to be positive. I'm doing everything I can to be loving. But these gigantic things just come in and just blow up right in my face. Why is this happening to me? The reason why it's happening to you is because the universe never forgets. The universe is a mirror. It is always going to reflect these things. The whole idea is that we can have love, but when we basically use that love where we say, well, this really big negative thing has just come and exploded itself in my face, and I try to give love to it, but it fails. It's because this pain body aspect is this big. The love you're using is maybe about this big, right? If your love is not equivalent to your pain, then your pain is going to triumph, right? It's kind of like the idea that we have a very big flame here, but then we have an ocean tidal wave that's ready just to wipe that flame out, right? If your love flame is only this big and you got this big tidal wave of hatred coming at and then just splattering you like tar, well, then your flame's going to go out, right? It's a different story now when you have this incredible infernal wall of love all around you, and then you have that tidal wave. That infernal wall is now able to engulf all of that tar and burn it up and make it pure again, right? So it's like the combating of the elements here, right? If it's not to an equal degree, at least, then we're going to have problems being able to harmonize that energy, harmonize that love, to harmonize that pain into love. So your love needs to be strong. It needs to be a wellspring. It needs to be an ocean. And the more love that you're putting yourself into, the more that you're able to completely harmonize and transform this pain. Now, one of the very important things to understand about love is that love itself is actually quite an easy thing to obtain, right? Because we're made out of it. We are made out of the eternal substance of love. It's very, very easy to become a loving person, right? We see it all the time. We're just walking into a restaurant, someone opens a door for us, that love just happens. It's compassion. It's beautiful. Somebody does something nice. If we slip on the ground, someone's there to hold out their hand, picking us up and helping us. That's a love moment, right? If we're giving a nice embracing hug because we had a great time with a friend, that's a loving moment, right? We always have all of these loving moments every single day because it's so natural. It's so easy for a human being to love. Now, when it comes to hatred, it is very, 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 very hard to hate another person, right? That's why we're bred into this idea from parents who may have been fundamentally negative, from a teacher, from friends, whoever it may be. But at a very, very early age, there's so much hatred that's going around. There's so much disgust and so much animosity that other people around are sharing with you. And over time, it starts to take its toll, right? So if you're just a very, very loving person who's never even met the aspect of pain, it takes a lot for that pain to actually embed itself in the system. It takes a lot of focus. It takes a lot of energy. It is something that is very, very exhausting to try and become an angry person, right? But when we actually become very, very angry, the ability to destroy is so easy, right? It's through all of that hatred that we have bred in such difficulty through ourselves that when that hatred is now there, we're now taking that hatred and now we can easily destroy things, right? Now it's the opposite when it comes to love. Love is, again, so easy to grasp. It's such a natural thing to us. But when we have all this love and we attempt to create through love, it becomes a great challenge. Because if you're to sit down in front of a canvas with a bunch of brushes and a bunch of colors and create something truly remarkable, that takes a lot of effort. That takes a great amount of energy to do that. So, Brad, what are you saying? It takes a mighty soul to create, and it takes a soul with no might to destroy. That's what's being said. So you really have to look into that. If we are constantly in a state of hatred, if we are fighting ourselves, if we're fighting each other, there's no might in us. There's no strength in us. Because all of that strength has been put towards an effort to hate another person. That is an unnaturalness to a human being, right? When we start to bring love back into ourselves, which is easy, and we start to feel all that energy of love back together, we're now washing away all the turmoil, all the toxicity that represents that anger, that now we use all of our effort to create out of that easement of love, right? That is what makes a mighty soul. That's when a soul is at the strongest. There is nothing strong about destroying something carelessly, about just seeing these three little kids, right, on a beach, building this really big, beautiful sand castle. Then this bitter old man just comes over, "Ooh, I hate this," poof, and they kick it down, right? How much effort did it take for that man to kick that sand castle down? It took no effort whatsoever. It took a quarter of a second to do, right? What about those kids that were building that sand castle? They were building it all day long, right? Right into the morning, into the afternoon, into the early evening. And now this old guy, poof, I don't like that, kicks it down, right? Who's the mighty soul here? Those kids. Those kids were the mightiest of souls because they were able to take their love and create something truly magnificent. And so anytime that that a person may tell you, "Oh, you're just weak because, you're crying all the time and you're just talking about all this stuff to create and blah, 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 blah," right? It's again, the complete opposite. It's the idea that when you hate, when you are bitter, when you are disgusted with somebody, there's no strength in that whatsoever. You've had to force yourself into so much effort to try and hate, to be bitter, and try to disgust. So that takes no strength whatsoever. That is a weak path. When you start to love, when you start to bring love into yourself, and you start to create these remarkable things, and you start to feel all this joy that's created out of everything that you manifest, that is the strongest being there is. This is why when everybody looks at the aspect of God or Creator, or the aspect of a prime master, whatever you want to call it, that they look at that with such awe. They look at that with such joy and such bliss. Why? Because a creator uses all of their love to create something truly magnificent. And if you are on that path as well, you are a mighty creator. You are the strongest that there is because you have allowed your love to create something truly remarkable, truly magnificent that took a lot of effort to do. So please remember that. That's what love does for you. All right? Okay, so guys, I'm going to go ahead and bring Adronis in. So again, if you guys do have questions for Adronis, just go ahead and use the Q&A app here. Just at the bottom of the page, just click on the Q&A button, and you can type a question in for Adronis. So Adronis is just going to come in. He's just going to give a brief introduction. He might share something with us as well too, and then I'll come back, and then we'll go into Q&A as well too. Okay. So thank you so much. I'll just take a moment now to bring Adronis in. Here we go. Terra. We are here at this time. We bid you greetings and thank you very much for the opportunity of this interaction today. I am Adronis of Serious, sending love, appreciation, and gratitude to all who are tuning in to this broadcast through your internet collective consciousness. We will also add our own particular perspective as it relates to your dark night of the soul that you're experiencing collectively. And that through this dark night of the soul, all of you are basically starting to create the pathway that will shift your planet in half. And that is what's happening during this quote-unquote grace period, or this period to which you call the span of change to which we have turned. But through this particular grace period, this is what's creating a fork in the road. This is where people will truly know exactly where they are at and what they are aligned to. So this is why you're experiencing so much intensity upon your planet. This is why you're seeing all these things about making a decision. Should I put all of my energy into something that does not serve me, or should I start walking my very own path and connect closer to the true God, to the one, to that which is source consciousness? And you will have to make these decisions. Again, the aspect of decision can weigh upon how you value others. Do they have much more of a higher value than yourself? Are you completely in the way of sharing opinion that you feel is nowhere near as good as those who can share opinion over you? Do people have a dominion over you, or are you feeling equal? All of these decisions, whether it be through your own career, whether it be through personal life, whether it be through relationships, through family, whatever it may be, all of these decisions that you are at right now will decide exactly your place as Earth moves through this divide, moves through this fork in the road, from third density to fourth density. As we have said back in 2016 of your year, that 2016 has allowed Earth to become a fourth density compliant planet. And that's where you are. You are a fourth density consciousness. And now your body is just starting to move up into that escalade to that which you know as a fourth density construct. So you're basically transitioning to where many of your consciousnesses do exist in fourth density. Even those who may feel that they are not upon this particular harmonious path still have a very strong conscience, and that conscience is in alignment to a fourth density construct. So Earth herself right now is a fourth density construct. Your body is still in the hybridization period between third and fourth, but consciously, mentally, emotionally, you're all there. The physical body is now just catching up. So through this fork in the road, you are therefore deciding which Earth you wish to be a part of, which Earth truly represents the natural, genuine quality of you. And you're going through this dark night of the soul right now to determine everything of what is happening in your life right now and what you decide to choose. For the choice that you make will determine your alignment with that fork in the road. We thank you very much, and we will now move on to your question and answer period. Please allow us a moment as we return to the conduit to prepare for this interaction. One moment. Okay, so we will go ahead and get started with the Q&A. And I just want to welcome to all of the attendees that are here today. Thank you for being here. Okay, so we have one question here from Catalin. Catalin says, awesome theme, the one of the need to have an identification. It's a deep and heart painful situation. Therefore, the more I let go of the need of identification, the more I feel more authentic and cosmic. Thank you, Catalin. Adronis will talk about this one. We thank you very much, Catalin, for your question. Yes, and this is the idea. The more that you feel natural and authentic is the idea that you have no baggage being carried upon you. We would liken it to a person who sees at the top of the hill there is a gate into another dimension. But at the bottom of this hill to where they are, they have all of these bags, they have all of these briefcases that they're carrying, where all of them says some particular type of identity. My father doesn't trust me, my mom hates me, I can't stand my brother, I really don't like my friends, etc. And all of this is baggage. That person is now attempting to go up that hill, but as soon as they take a first step, they collapse under their own weight. And they try and scramble for all of these bags. They know that these bags weigh about twice as much as they do, yet they struggle so much to try and carry this with them, to go up this very big incline, up to this very big hill to where that gateway is. And so they continue to fight and to struggle, yet they get absolutely nowhere. All of those briefcases, all of those bags represent identity. It represents everything that you are suffering from. It is everything that you have personally labeled yourself with no opportunity of growth past everything that's contained inside those bags and briefcases. So in order for you to truly move yourself up that hill and go into that gateway, into the next dimension, you need to drop as many of those bags and briefcases as you possibly can. Because there is no harmony in being able to label, identify, tag yourself in thinking that this is who you are, and this is why you've come to Earth, and this is what you have to do. If you only think in those particular terms, they become limiting. It is the nature that you are the aspect of environment, that you are the truth pertaining to all of the Earth herself. You're the entirety of the Earth. Because you are able to make any particular choice that you wish that allows you to connect to any reality within this earth that you wish. That's your power, that's your ability. But as long as you're labeling yourself and stamping all these things on top of yourself and saying, this is who I am and this is what I have to do, and these are the people that have to be with me, and there's no way that that can change, while you're putting yourself in that briefcase and you're carrying weight that is too heavy for you to handle. And you start to shake in the knees, and before you know it, you collapse. Throw all the bags away. Throw all the briefcases away. Let yourself become completely bare naked, as Brad has said. And you're running up that hill now. You're sprinting up it. You're going so fast, you can't believe it. You're going cheetah speed, and you're moving up that hill. But whenever you try to move up that hill with all of that bags, you can't even take a first step without collapsing. This is the importance of how you are able to completely remove everything that represents a hindrance. As much as you may love your family, as much as you may love your friends, as much as you may love other people, it's not about not having to love them. It's about letting them go on their own way, because they are human beings of free will, just like yourself. Let them walk their path. If they cannot see what you are doing, let it all go. Let go of the materialism. Let go of the possessions that you know do not serve you. Let it all die. And when we say let it all die, let transition come about. Let yourself become a completely new being by letting all of those things go. And now you'll be sprinting up that hill. Now you'll be moving to that gateway, and the next dimension will be there waiting for you. All right? Thank you very much. Okay, so let's move on to Roland's question. Any update about the solar flash? Okay, thank you, Roland. 1 moment. We thank you very much, Roland, for your question regarding that of the solar flash. Well, as we've stated, that during your times of March 21st and March 31st, that this was the benchmark time to where the orchestration of the event will take place. We are not talking about the event itself. but we are talking about that there are certain events that are taking place throughout your planet that will eventually lead up into what you know as the Great Flash, the Great Solar Flare in that way. Now, there is no estimated time to when this may happen. It may be a possibility that it could come around the end of the span of change, but then again, it may not. It could be several years past that. What matters right now is that all of these particular events that need to happen will be the chain effect that then allows these transformations on a celestial level to take place. But this does not have to be a doom and gloom situation, as many upon your internet in society feel that it's going to. It does not have to be that way. As we've stated, the more that you follow your own truth, the more that you're on a path to understanding who you are right to the depth of your own core, this will not even affect you. You will not even be affected through the aspect of the shift, because you have to understand that this is an orchestration, that this is a symphony, and that certain things need to take place first. As we've stated, that many of those things are through your political, financial, governmental sectors as it relates to change. It also relates to the idea of your own populace, relating to societies beginning to change, being able to accept each other a lot more. Again, this is a harvest. And through a harvest, it is not the idea that the farmer is going to come in and plow down all the fields while certain things are still growing. While there still is the ability to harvest the crop, it's not going to cause that farmer to destroy their entire field. The sun is aware of this. You have to understand that your sun is an intelligent being. It's not just some random ball of fire that's just going to madly spew out these things randomly. It doesn't work that way. Your sun is so much more of a deep intelligence. It represents a grander intelligence more than anything that you can possibly know. Therefore, it is not going to prematurely destroy the aspect of your electrical systems, or again, completely short circuit your entire earth while there is still a harvest going on. Your harvest is still happening. There is no exact date as it relates to the aspect of when the quote-unquote event solar flash will take place. There are even negotiations right now. Again, it's a very, very small percentage, but there's even negotiations right now of possibly not even having a solar flash at all. Now, again, that is not a definite. In fact, that has a very small amount of momentum behind it, but that is still there. And when we are saying at all, we would basically mean not at all that would represent your current generational cycle. That there is a very small chance, again, we would say it would be less than 8 to 10%, that the aspect of the solar flash would be completely delayed, perhaps even for another century or two. But as we stated, that is a very, very small percentage. There's more sort of a larger percentage that it will be happening within this generational cycle. But nothing is guaranteed here. We are not telling that you have to write this down, you have to etch it in stone, and you have to take it to the bank and saying, well, Adronis says that this may happen in about the next few years. We better just keep strong about this. We can't guarantee that. The reason why we can't guarantee that is because your collective is changing so much. Everything in regards to new ideas, new concepts, new leaderships, new shifts in consciousness are happening so much that all of these particular predictions are being completely nullified each and every single time that they are made. This is why we avoid attempting to use predictions for your collective society, and we refer to them rather as probabilities or calculations, rather than feeling that this is a prediction. Because when people hear the word prediction, oh, this is definitely going to happen. This is 100% set in stone. I'm going to go ahead and do this. I'm going to go ahead and make this thing happen because this person predicted this to happen. And if they don't want their reputation ruined, well, they better be right. No. Prediction never, ever means definite. Even many of your greatest minds who have made predictions in the ancient times are realizing that those predictions are becoming nullified. Not because they were wrong, but it's because people are shifting so much, your planet is shifting so much, that new timelines are being fused in all the time. So we cannot guarantee that the solar flash will happen at the end of the span of change. We cannot guarantee that the solar flash may happen within your next 20 years. We cannot even guarantee, even though it's small, that your solar flash may even happen in the solar generation cycle. It may be another 100 years. It may be another 200 years. This is all the possibilities that's there. It's all about the momentum that's coming forward to making this happen, because what's important upon your planet right now is the harvest. That's the most important thing. Once the harvest starts to happen to where it is slowly starting to happen right now, then such events like a solar flash can take place. But the farmer is not going to destroy all its crops before they are harvested. That's the big idea here. All right, we will leave it at that. Thank you very much. Okay, well, that's some good information there. So thank you very much, Roland, for your question. We'll move on to Linda. Linda has a question of saying, hi, Brad, your new home is very bright. I like it. I have heard twice over the past week that we can rewrite parts of our Akashic records. Can you or Adronis comment on this? Well, I guess I can comment on it first, and then I can bring Adronis in. Yes, we certainly can rewrite our Akashic records. Now, Akashic records really is just a fancy way of saying our energy, right? There are patterns within our energy. Through our own energy of what we are able to recognize, the only reason why a Akashic record, for example, is blueprinted or imprinted upon ourselves is because of the current amount of power that we're giving it. Adronis has said many times is that the way that we exist is we pay attention to what we focus on, and what we don't focus on, that becomes a repulsion. It's in the background, it becomes the unknown. It is the aspect to where we are not able to access the unknown because of the choice or choices we made, right? So when you are becoming very aware of something within your Akashic records, if it's something that may happen even in this lifetime, in your earlier years, you have the ability to completely rewrite that, right? So the Akashic records are not completely permanent, right? It's not the idea of that these are absolute records and there's nothing you can do to change them. No, that's incorrect. You're only looking at a version. You're looking at a specific imprint to how this record right now is completely focused on in your life. So if it was some type of trauma that was happening in your past, maybe something with one of your parents and yourself, and it turned out to be a really horrendous situation, over time, as you've grown up and where you are right now, you've brought a lot of love into yourself, and now you're able to research the Akashic records and say, everything in the records is transient, which means that it can be rewritten. Well, I'm going to rewrite this timeline. And so we go into ourselves, we relax, we calm ourselves, and we go into that particular event that represents the Akashic records. And now we're able to bring love, compassion, and forgiveness to a very, very horrendous timeline. We're able to completely forgive the emotions, the trauma that has brought up. Now, when we look at that timeline, it's been sanitized. What you have done is you have consciously time traveled back into that timeline, and you have sanitized it with your love. So now when you're thinking about it, because you put all your love, compassion, and forgiveness into it, it now becomes a completely sanitized timeline where now there is no hard feelings between your parents. There is no hard feelings relating to the situation that was talked about or maybe argued about. All of that comes to rest. You make peace with it. What you have done now is that old timeline still exists, but it's no longer valid. You have basically repelled it. You've given it repulsion, right? And so all of the essence to that old timeline has shifted into a new timeline that says, I completely love and forgive that situation. That is how we sanitize a timeline. So we have to understand that much of the common talk about feeling that we can't change the past, yes, you can, right? As a child, maybe it's very difficult because you don't have that discernment. And we're not looking to go into grabbing a DeLorean and going back into that type of time travel. But the type of time travel that we're doing is a conscious time travel. This is what I've talked about in an older video as well, too, about sanitizing timelines or healing your timelines, right? That's what the Akashic records can do. So the records are only showing you the current imprint of what you feel your life is that you have brought focus into, right? All the energies that say, I hate my parents, I hate my family, or I can't get along with this person, or I have so much judgment regarding this situation, etc. Those are the transient timelines that you, through your own value, felt that you have made permanent, right? But you can at any particular time go back into that Akasha, go back into those memories, and scrub them clean with love, compassion, and forgiveness. This is exactly what we do in light circuitry attunements. You go back to those times that were full of peril or full of disgust or full of anger, full of trauma, and we change them, right? And I just guide you so that you are able to do 99.9% of the work, right? You're going in there and you're scrubbing it all down. You're cleaning it all out. And that's what we do in light circuitry attunements. So it's absolutely true that the Akashic records, again, is not something that's absolute. They are transient records. And that, again, we're only attracting some portion of that Akasha that says, this is my identity. This is what I've gone through. This is what I've labeled. Adronis says, carrying your bags, trying to carry these bags up the mountain. When you're dropping those bags, you're working with your energy. You're working with your focus. And you're bringing love to those situations. And now you're healing traumas, emotions that prevented you from seeing it much more clearly, bringing clarity to it. So yes, I do that all the time with people, and I've done that a lot with myself as well too, through light circuitry attunements, and even just through sessions with Adronis as well too. So absolutely, they are very, very transient. So let me see if I can bring Adronis in for, let's see if I can grab the Q&A. Okay, there we go. I'll bring Adronis back in, and he can share some perspective on the Akashic records as well. One moment. We thank you very much, Linda, for your question. As you know, that all the Akasha represents is your own vault to where all of the energies of the universe is something that you have stored into it. So in this vault, here lies one packet of energy that says your current relationship with your parents. Over here, here's another packet that says this is how you see your career. Over here, this is your personality trait and saying that there's no way that I can learn anything new. I guess I'm just stuck with what I have. All of these packets are contained in your soul vault. And you have the ability to open up this safe, open up this vault, take those packets out, and start to dive into them. Energy is always transient. Energy is always in a shifting of change. It is only being able to see one facet of the crystal to where you feel that this must be an absolute. You are not in realization that as you turn the crystal, there are an infinite amount of facets that you can choose from. But you have aligned to this because that's what you've put your focus and identity upon. You've stamped it into that particular filament, into that facet. And that's what you are looking at. So you have to understand that, as Brad just said, your Akashic records are transient in form. They are, again, no more different than clay. You're reshaping it into something that you wish. So yes, if you are deciding to go into your soul vault, look into these packets, they always have the ability to change because the Akasha is its own consciousness. And as it's its own consciousness, it will always work together with what its master, you, have determined is the grandest focus for your evolution. We thank you very much. Okay. Thank you, Linda, for your question. And yeah, thank you very much for noticing this trailer. It's very, very nice. There's a lot of beautiful forest all around me. I really enjoy the place. So thank you again for noticing. Okay, and we have one last question here for Catalin. Catalin asks, what would be a ratio to help myself through personal work and help others if this is a pertinent question? Okay, well, I guess I'll tackle this one. To being able to have a ratio, right? You know, it doesn't always have to come down to percentages in that way. Really, it is just the idea that if you are feeling clear, then you're going to be a great example for everybody else. It's not about saying, well, 60% of me feels free, 40% of me still feels confined, right? That's still not really helping you in the way. It's not about looking at this in a logical ratio perspective, right? Again, I'm not perfect in any way. There's still certain things that I'm going through, but I've learned a lot through a lot of the growth, especially over these particular 10 years, right? There's still some little bit of cracks in the crevices for myself as well, too. Nowhere near as much as there used to be. But I can't even really put a percentage on myself because I don't know what the aspect of pure truth is that can create a ratio, right? And this is what Adronis and I have both said as well, too. If you want to know exactly where you are in the spiritual aspect of things, create a journal, right? Create a diary, create an inner workbook, and say that from how I was 10 years ago to where I am right now, I'd say that there is a 500% increase of success, right? Then that's what you are creating in that way. We really can't give a ratio relating to where you feel you are spiritually evolved or where you feel that you're at to help others in that way. Do you have something to offer another person? Something that you feel is very, very illuminating, right? If the answer is yes, then you can certainly help another person out. We're not being a perfect being, but you do have the capability to be one. It's when you are stripped away with everything that represents identity and you are bare naked with truth that you are actually a perfect being. If we look into the stories of Jesus in that sense, he represents that of a perfect being because he had no sin, right? Because he had no sin, he represented himself as a perfect being. When Buddha was able to experience nirvana, he no longer had any misalignments. He had no particular drawings to desires. He became the Buddha nature. He became a perfect being. The ability to become a perfect being is to completely strip yourself down until you are naked with truth, right? And again, we don't really know when that happens until we actually feel it, right? So we can't put a ratio. You can't put a logical stamp on this. But if you know that there's something that you are very happy about, that brings you a lot of love, that you know you can help a lot of people with as well too, that's all that's needed, right? You just know that there is something loving that you have. Maybe it's helping to build free technology. Maybe it's being able to help people with meditation. Maybe it's able to help out with healing. Because if those are elements of yourself that you feel are great and you love absolutely, you're following, again, that passion, then that is your ratio of a 100% as it relates to that theme, right? So don't feel that you need to put a timestamp or put some type of percentage ratio in regards to your own spiritual evolution. It really doesn't help you to look at it in that way. It's just saying that if I can just tune into myself, what is it that I still need to work on? And then I look at that and saying, am I willing to work on that? And if the answer is yes, then you're in the fruitful mind to being able to help yourself. That will then lead to helping others. Okay, I hope that helps you, Kevin. All right, everybody, we are going to go ahead and conclude this very first class. So again, I recommend everybody just go to newearthacademy.online, or you can go to patreon.com/newearthacademy. Go ahead and sign up as a new patron. Again, library, student, and apprenticeship patrons are there. I'm going to be doing some updates to the site tonight, again, with the monthly classroom that's going to happen. But again, there's a lot of juicy stuff, a lot of fun stuff that's going to happen. And like I said, it's my way of spoiling my clients, my way of spoiling my friends, my way of spoiling everybody who has been really, really supportive of all the work that I've been doing over these past 10 years, and just being able to get these really good offers for you to get private sessions, email questions, looking at all of this video content as well, being part of the online classrooms and the upcoming webinars. Again, reminder, tomorrow is Adronis, the Primordial Human. So you can look into that through newearthteachings.com. That starts tomorrow at 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, and the recording will be going up on New Earth Academy in the next day or two as well, too. Okay? Thank you, everybody, for joining me, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend wherever you are in the world, and I look forward to speaking to you again in another perspective of the now. Namaste, and may be well with you all. Take care.